can get everybody up to date on the rain, the ice, the snow, the essentially everything that we have going on today. This is if you're tuning in live here on Facebook, that was a live look outside over one of our tower cams. I'm just trying to pull up a couple other ones here just to see if we can get some ideas of kind of how things are going. We really got to watch. This is from our Hilton camera here. We really got to watch the amount of rain today and the amount of ice that's coming our way. All right, let's go. Facebook, here we go. We're talking about a very active next 36 to 48 hours. That's going to be a big concern, a huge concern over the next several hours. We're kind of setting things up as we go here. And I'm going to pull up the Facebook Live here on my computer so I can see your comments and your questions and try to ask as we go. So bear with me for 1 second while I pop this up. But it looks like it's going to be a pretty active day today for sure. Mute that for us. All right, ready to go. Here we go. This is what we're talking about. Rain coming our way. I want to give you a wider view really quickly and show you where we are. I mean, this is essentially the whole system coming our way. As we watch this roll through the whole day today, we're going to have a couple different layers, a couple different levels of this storm kind of unfolding. First off, it's all rain. This is all rain rolling through here. Heavy rain with little bursts like this. And then as this kind of rolls out, I'll show you another little wave that's trying to work its way on up for probably the evening commute. That's down there as well. This burst right here is something that's going to roll right along the front as well. So that's our potential for some pretty good snowfall for like Toledo over to Sandusky, maybe a few inches with that. But for the most part of the day today, I think we're warm enough. I think we're mainly talking about, the rain concerns. For this morning, I'm going to pause it. We'll show you the heavy stuff. The yellow and red, that's some pretty good rainfall. We're in the 50s, so it's not icy, it's not snowy, it's not wintry at all. It's all rain. It's 50s and rain and wind. Winds out of the south gusting to about 30 or 40 this morning. So that's what we're watching for the morning drive. We'll watch this burst roll through here. It does start to taper off probably closer to like 10, 11, 12 o'clock, but in the meantime, we're watching this line of heavy rain kind of roll up 71. If you were watching Good Morning Cleveland this morning, we were kind of tracking this all out, talking about towards the end of the morning commute, this steadier, heavier rain rolling in here. It's still on track, and it's still going to continue to be a concern. Beyond that, beyond the rain falling or moving in, we had so much melting. We were in the 50s yesterday. It was windy yesterday, melting and evaporating. What didn't evaporate soaked into the ground. So these are our current river gauges around the area. You get the Killbutt Creek. That's that yellow you're seeing down in Holmes and Coshocton County. It's at near flood stage, but it's rising. You've got minor flood stages this is the Huron River in Milan and the Vermilion. Vermilion's at some of the highest numbers we've seen since 2007. It's been 14 years since we've seen some of that. So that's an issue for sure. But I want to zoom in on some of this, see if I can show you this. I think I can show you this on Facebook here. I'm going to show you this. This is where we get a lot of our river information from. This is what we're looking at as far as the latest gauges. Let me click on this really quickly. Do you see? Can I zoom in on this? I can. All right. So 12.8. That's 12.7 was the latest little reading at 7 o'clock for the Vermilion. That's down a few inches. You get these ice jams, and it slows down that flow, and the water spikes. As far as like the Huron River in Milan, look at the rise and the fall here with this. Jam, breaks loose. Jams up, breaks loose. Right now it's at a breaks loose kind of trend, but it could easily jam right back up and those waters jump right back up. Those water levels at that river gauge jump right back up to 19 and a half feet. That's moderate flood stage. This is all on the internet, and you can see some of the higher peaks here. We're close to 20 feet. It's been a while. It's been a while since we've had these. We've had them in the last few years here at 20 to 22, but things we got to keep a very close eye on. Now, as far as the forecast is concerned, let's move forward with this. We've got the flood watch is in effect for everybody. It's not just the Huron River, and it's not just the Vermilion River. It's the Cuyahoga. It's the Black River. It's Killbuck. We were showing you that yellow gauge from right there on that county line from Coshocton County into Holmes County. Well, that flows all the way through Wayne County as well. So you've got some issues with that also that potentially will get into, minor to moderate flood stage. The Cuyahoga all the way through. I mean, you've got some major issues with that. So that entire river is essentially under a flood warning because of the anticipated rain coming our way. Essentially, Cuyahoga Falls all the way through. And then also some other smaller rivers once you get off toward like Youngstown and just north of Youngstown. So 1 to 2 inches of rain with that, which is significant on its own. 1 to 2, that's a soaker of a day. And you factor in all the melt we had from yesterday, a couple inches locked up into all that snow melt, that snowpack that we've had on the ground for the last 30 days. That's a big concern. I've been talking about the cold air coming in here, though. After we get through the rain and the flooding, we've got cold air. So winter weather advisories. The rain changes to freezing rain and then a mix of sleet and snow with a little bit of rain mixed in as well. I think it's going to be falling fast enough, like heavily enough. The rain is going to be falling heavily enough to where not all of it freezes. It eventually will, but not all of it freezes right out the gate. So 50s outside this morning, winds out of the south still. All of us are in the 50s right now. That will not be the trend for long. Check out this little timeline here. 50s dropping through the 40s into the 30s. And then we drop through the 20s into the teens by Friday morning. So even if you're getting a ton of rain and you don't get the actual sleet or snow, which I don't think everybody does. I think south of Canton, the rain just kind of tapers off overnight tonight before the cold air works in. But the cold air eventually works in, and the wet roads, the wet bridges will eventually freeze for tomorrow morning. I'm not talking about like accumulating ice, but I'm talking about a glaze of ice. Bridges and overpasses will be slick area wide overnight tonight. I'm going to try to pull up some of these comments here just to make sure I can, there we go, make sure I can get some of those. All right, so beyond this rain that rolls through here, I'm going to take you through the futurecast to kind of track it all out for you. We're in the 50s, near 50, in the 50s for the morning drive. There's that heavier rain that rolls through. I want to go through and stop this. I'm going to walk us through it slowly. We'll stop it at noon. Here's noon. That heavier rain is pretty much pulled out. I think we get a little bit of a break through midday, but notice do you see this line right here where it's a little bit darker? You get a little yellow and orange with that. Can you see my mouse? Probably can't see my mouse with this. I think I can draw on this. Bear with me here. This line right here, that's the cold front. Watch what happens with that cold front as we go a little bit farther. See as it crosses Fremont, Sandusky. I'm going to stop it at 2 o'clock. Now that line is stretching right here. So it's moved in a couple hours, essentially a county. So you've still got 50s out ahead of it, but you're dropping 30s. I mean, you go from 50 to 30 in a matter of a couple hours. That's a quick drop, meaning that you're going to have all that rain. Even if it's light rain through the afternoon, the lighter the rain is, the easier it is for that to freeze. So you're probably going to have some freezing rain mixing in with that and some sleet as well. Let's go to 4 o'clock. Here's that, you can really see that line here now. That line is through Ashtabula. It's pushing through Medina, not quite Mansfield, not quite Ashland. Everybody else behind it, you're into those 30s, maybe even dipping into the 20s. And that's when we're going to start to get in on some of that ice, some of that sleet. That's what that pink is. That's sleet and freezing rain and those concerns. Well, let's stop it at 6 o'clock. You can see that line is through Ravenna, pushing through Canton, through Millersburg, not quite into Coshocton, not quite into New Philly, not quite into Youngstown or Carrollton. So this is still heavy rain. Remember, the Killbuck Creek, that flood, it's already high. It's already approaching flood stage. That's going to be getting dumped on all day in the 40s and 50s. That's through sunset. You're still talking about more rain. That river will rise. The ice jams on the Black River, on the Vermilion, on the Huron, on the Chagrin, on essentially all the rivers. There's the Cuyahoga that runs right up from Akron through Cleveland. All these rivers are going to have some big concerns on them as we go through the afternoon with the rain. And that's before we even get into this cold air and start talking about the ice and our impacts on the street. So the flooding impacts anybody around any flood-prone areas. Then the ice impacts everybody driving around this evening. So the evening commute, I think, is okay, but I think it's getting worse as we get closer to sunset, especially for Cleveland. Here's 8. We'll go to 9 o'clock. Look at the 20. Sandusky's down to 24. I mean, you're still above freezing, New Philly and Coshocton, but not for long. I think those numbers drop overnight tonight down into the 20s. And I think if you're in the 20s by 9, you might wake up in the teens tomorrow morning. Now, I do want to show you a little model here that will extend that out just a bit. Here is that 9 o'clock. We're watching those 20s taking over. Here's midnight. Moisture's pulling out of here. Numbers are getting cold. Very cold air settling in here, but most of the moisture, the precip, the snow, the sleet, the rain is gone by 6 a.m., by sunrise tomorrow morning. But look at the temps. We're in the teens. Now, a lot of the roads are going to be treated, not all of the roads. Your front porch is probably not going to be treated overnight. You know, I'm talking about like your driveways. That stuff freezes. Everything that's wet overnight tonight, when we drop into the teens, that can be a big concern. So it may not be necessarily that you're getting accumulating ice everywhere, but it's the fact that it gets so cold so quickly that the rain can't run off, can't evaporate, can't dry up before that freezing air settles in. So as far as how much rain we're expecting, I think most spots are around that 1 to 1.5. As you get a little bit farther south, you're into that 2-inch range. That's flooding. You get up into the 1.5 for like Sandusky, not taking into consideration that that's mixing over to snow sooner. That's why the heavier snowfall numbers are going to be Sandusky to Toledo, because it's not all going to be liquid. You're going to have some ice in that as well. As far as how much ice, here you go. 1/4 inch. May not seem like much, but a 1/4 inch of ice is significant. It's going to stick to things. It's going to stick to your cars. You're going to have to break the ice out off of your car before you start driving around tomorrow morning. Even if you don't get a 1/4 inch, even if you're less than that, you're still going to have the rain. I'm talking like Canton and New Philly. You're less than a 1/4 inch of ice, but you're still going to have that glaze on the streets, and everything that was wet when you go to bed tonight will likely be frozen when you get up tomorrow morning. Underneath that, or on top of that rather, is going to be snow. Once we get cold enough, that ice transitions over to snow. So that's our concern for probably overnight tonight into tomorrow morning, is how much snow we can get. 1 to 2, maybe 3 on top of the ice for Cleveland. I think 2 to 4 or 5 for like Toledo. 5 or 6, Sandusky closer to 2 or 3. And that's going to be something that we really have to keep a close eye on. My comments here aren't updating, so let's see if I can pop those in here. There we go. Now they're updating. All right, cool. So yeah, we've got the snow. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second there. We've got the snow that shuts down, like I showed you, shuts down early, but still going to be rough the earlier you get out. Well, the later you wait, the longer you give these road crews time to kind of clear off some of the and treat some of the ice, the better it's going to be. Now, temperatures are only in the teens tomorrow. I think it's a brutally cold day tomorrow. We're in the teens to start. We get back to about 21 by the afternoon. Probably warming into the upper 20s Friday night into Saturday morning, which is kind of funky, right? At night, you'd think we'd cool off. We're actually warming up. We're going to pick up a light south breeze on the backside of this system Friday night. We don't thaw out, though. This next clipper that rolls in here Saturday, it'll drop maybe another inch or so. Not a ton of moisture with it, but it's dropping our numbers back down into the teens through the day. So our high for Saturday is probably like 3 or 4 in the morning before that cold air settles in. We'll drop into the teens. We'll hold the teens all night Saturday night, and then a quick jump. We'll get some sun. We'll get a breezy south wind. We jump back to about 50 on Sunday, maybe even low 50s getting into Monday. Not nearly as cold, but then our next system, Tuesday, more rain. Wednesday, possible for some ice to work in here as temperatures drop again, 42 in the morning, 35 in the afternoon. Kind of similar to the temperature drop we're going to get today. I just don't know how much moisture will be left over for that also. All right. That being said, That was an in-depth look, about a 15-minute in-depth forecast. We typically only get about 2 or 3 minutes during the newscast. So I just spent about 15 minutes kind of going through that. So hopefully that answers a lot of the questions here. Let's see if you have any questions. No questions, just soaking it in. Good stuff. That's always good to see. Always good to see when I'm answering questions before you ask them. So perfect. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and end this Facebook Live. If you have any questions, feel free to jump over to my Facebook page. It's just meteorologist Trent Magill. Facebook.com/Trent M Weather. If you like to just type that in, that'll take you straight to my page. You can comment, you can ask questions, you can get involved right there, kind of interact with me, and I can make sure everybody stays up to date. But I guess for now, that's it. I got to get back to work. Got to get back to the television.